welcome to This Is. It's that time of year again where we speculate wildly. We're going to take a look at what we think is going to happen with the iPhone 15.
No, actually, Matt, you're wrong.
Yeah, probably.
I'm going to tell you why the iPhone 15, hand-built by Timothy H. Cook himself, is going to change your worldview. You got an Android phone in your hand right now? Throw it in the garbage. You got an iPhone 14 Pro Max Ultra? Throw it in the garbage.
Actually.
My uncle at Apple told me that the iPhone 15 is going to be real good. And by uncle at Apple, I mean Mark Gurman, who leaks everything very, very accurately.
We have a rough idea of what the iPhone 15 is going to look like. And I'm happy to say I was wrong about something. I thought that Apple would be super petty and just not go with a connector on this guy. So like I thought they were gonna go just complete wireless, and I'm happy that they're not.
So it does seem like it is going to be USB-C across the board on the iPhone 15 and the 15 Plus, as well as the Pro and the Pro Max. There is some speculation on like maybe the Pro phones will have like a faster like USB 3 versus like USB 2 or maybe even Thunderbolt. But regardless, what we should expect here is the same as this year, and that the standard iPhone 15 will have a 1-year-old chip. So we're talking about the A16 instead of A17. So what you'll find is that the iPhone 15 is not going to be as powerful as the Pro, which in all honesty is fair enough. You know, you're buying the Pro phone, you're gonna get the Pro performance. It's gonna have the 3nm chip, blah, blah, blah.
Which I think a lot of people are like, that rubs the wrong way. Like on paper, it sounds a lot more sinister than it is. Like it's a 1-year-old chip. It makes more sense than coming out with 2 chips every year. This is where, you know, straight-laced Matt comes in.
Wait, straight-laced? Is this like the opposite of Kyle?
Straight-laced Matt. Loading an app that takes half a second on one is not going to be a noticeable difference when it takes 0.49 seconds.
Yeah, but what happens when I'm rendering all that 4K video on my phone?
Then you're dumb.
Okay, straight-laced Matt. You're not as exciting as Kyle. Where's Kyle? The thing is, the difference between the iPhone 15 and the Pro is actually going to be substantial for a couple of reasons, because this time around, the iPhone 15, the standard and the Plus, they're going to have a lot of the upgrades we got last year on the Pro models. So think about things like the Dynamic Island. You're going to be surfing on your Dynamic Island.
How do you feel about the Dynamic Island a year in?
I don't care.
That being said, the only thing I think has actually been like super useful is when I'm flying and the United app has like a little countdown of like when you're boarding, how long is your flight? Being able to look and just like at a glance being like, you have 2 hours left on this flight. But that's literally been the only thing that I've been like, yeah, I love this. But you know what the branding of an iPhone is like the Dynamic Island is the branding of it. iPhone loves to have their little silhouettes of their phone everywhere. And if you have like, if it's a no bezel, no notch, no Dynamic Island, it's just a slab. I'm glad you actually mentioned the bezels, Matt, because one of the other upgrades that's specifically coming to the Pro are thinner bezels. Supposedly, we're going to be going from a roughly 2.2mm bezel on the Pro and the Pro Max to 1.4, which doesn't sound like a lot, but will get us a lot closer to an all-screen device. Okay, here's the thing. You know that I have also lost 1.4 millimeters of...
Have you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you notice? No.
So
why would you notice it on your phone? I'm at a point where like I've said this for like the last like 3 iPhones.
Yeah.
All of these things are so minuscule. And like I've never once looked at these bezels and been like, this is too big.
No, which I mean, look, I don't think anyone is going to complain about a slightly larger screen and a little bit less bezel. But you know something that you will notice is the material choices. On the peasant iPhone 15, you got aluminum. You think that I'm gonna have a phone made out of the same can as my Keystone Light? I don't think so. But on the Pro phones, previously you had surgical grade stainless steel. But you know where that goes? Straight in the surgery room, because we're upgrading to titanium, boy! Are there advantages to titanium? Probably. It's used in planes, which means it's good. But that's going to be one of the big upgrades this year, is that not only is the actual chassis going to be made out of titanium, it's going to be lighter and thinner and easier to bludgeon Android people to death with. But on top of that, you also will now have a little bit more of a rounded edge for it. So it's going to be a little bit more of a quote-unquote like cohesive design. So the iPhone 15s across the board this year should be getting a significantly larger battery. Now, this is a little bit of a surprise to me because honestly, I feel like the last couple of years, the iPhones across the board have had quite good battery life. I think the 13 was the point where I'm like, this battery life is just like all that I realistically need for any day ever.
I beg to differ.
Really? Okay, hit me.
I got a launch 14 Pro. I am at 93% battery health, but I find myself having to charge this thing throughout the day. And I used to say on the Mini, I never had a problem with battery life. Never had it. This guy I've been having problems with.
So
And-
that's interesting because if you look at the battery sizes, the 14 Pro actually has the smallest battery because the Pro phone has a lot of extra stuff in it. iPhone 15 Plus, Pro Max, all are gonna have bigger batteries than the Pro. So that's always gonna have, I think, the worst battery life. That being said, this time around, we should see a reasonable step up across the board, including the iPhone 15 Pro Max Chungus Edition having an Android-sized battery.
Do you want to be into this year's episode?
I sure do.
Well, then you can call the number on the screen right now, 657-246-2853, and tell us what, Austin?
Your most embarrassing tech stories. We're going to pick some of the messages that you leave at that voicemail box, and we're going to include them in an upcoming episode of This Is. Don't delay. Dial today.
Oh, that was a good rhyme. Do it. I've been like whatever on iPhone upgrades for the past few years. I use it because it works. I don't have to deal with it. If I'm using TikTok, it's the same on my iPhone that it is on my Android. I don't care about platforms as much anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
This is the first year that I've been like adamantly like mad at a potential change that iPhone is gonna make.
Wait. Everyone pause. Stop for a moment. What is Matt about to say he's going to be mad about? You have 7 seconds to think about it. Is it the fact that the iPhone...
Kyle agrees with me.
Oh, no. Kyle's here. All right, Kyle, give us the answer. What are you mad about?
I swear to fucking God, if they take away my toggle mute switch, this is the best feature that has ever been on a phone. Look at how good this is. So clicky, and they want to give me a stupid action button? Sure, it's programmable. Sure, I can put whatever on there, but I want my little switch. Have I had my ringer on anytime in the past 7 years? No, because if you have your ringer on in public, you're a serial killer.
Can I just say, I think you're completely wrong. Theoretically, what we will be getting with at least the Pro, maybe the regular, but at least the Pro models, is that little switch will be replaced with the quote-unquote action button. As Kyle so eloquently put, will be able to be programmable. So you can have it to just turn on and off the mute, but you also could change it to open up the camera for like shutter button. It does something revolutionary, but to me, like you said, have not had my ringer on anything besides silent in like 7 years. And if I care about it that much, I can just press the button to have it automatically
But does it
on mute. Click at her ticket, Matt.
Stop ruining my clicking.
This is just one of those things where like the mute switch has been there forever. It's fine. I would be upset if they just removed it and just called it a day, but they're replacing it with something which I think has more utility. Like that to me is a small but welcome upgrade.
So, all right, I want to go back to something that you said, which, and this is not necessarily, I think it's a good thing or bad thing for iPhone, but EU has also said in the upcoming years, batteries have to be removable on phones again. Not just iPhone, but this is going to dramatically change how phones are developed. And I don't know if that's a good thing. The reason it started doing this is because of the way that they're folding in logic boards and like trying to stuff all this stuff into the package the way they have. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of a regression of phones. And this is not an iPhone. This is, I think, everywhere. Like, I would not be surprised if we just straight up see less feature. Like,
You're trying to say those Europeans are trying to steal my features?
kind of. I feel like manufacturers aren't going to be able to necessarily fit everything in there the way they the way they can now. I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a year or two where we have like the dark ages of smartphones. We have to go like a couple steps back.
I think the implementation here matters a lot because if it's something as simple as
Yeah.
like, hey, you can't serialize the batteries to make repairs difficult for end users. You can't like glue these things down. If you just said that like, hey, phones can stay the same, just get rid of the glue and make it a little bit easier to get into, I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable. I think everyone can do that.
Even if we don't lose any of the features out like that, we are gonna have less resistant phones to the elements. Your IP rating is gonna drop down drastically. The glue is there to give you that high IP rating.
That's why I dip my phone in glue every day.
I personally spill a beer on my phone way more than I think I'd ever have to change a battery.
Oh yeah.
I bring my phone in the shower, all right? I got my shower karaoke going on, and I got like my tunes, blah, blah, blah. So I want a full waterproof phone. That being said, there's another, coming back to iPhone. The rumor is of having an Ultra, where a lot of the things that you said are coming for the 15 Pro, I feel like make a little bit more sense for the Ultra. Like a smartphone in general that doesn't suck, because every rugged phone out there is like, they're usually like a feature phone that like, oh yeah, this thing can survive a tank, but good luck opening YouTube on it.
Some of the other rumors for the iPhone 15 would be that now it's going to come in a shiny new red color or burgundy. Actually, you know what? I could see it being a little bit like a whiny kind of color.
It's an
like
iPhone
wine.
user. Of course it's going to be whiny. Hey-oh!
On top of this, There also are going to be fairly decent camera upgrades across the board. So on the standard iPhone 15, it is going to inherit the 48 megapixel main camera from the existing iPhone 14 Pro. It also gives you that built-in 1 and 2x because you could just pixel bin down to the 12 megapixel mode and just zoom right in. And the Pro Max version, or the Pro Max Ultra Chungus, whatever they want to call it, is finally going to get a telescoping camera lens. Maybe not like Samsung Space Zoom levels of like 10x optical, which is kind of sad because the Samsung Space Zoom is the fucking shit. But like having a proper zoom on the big phone at least will be a nice upgrade.
Well, again, it makes sense putting it in the largest of phone because it physically needs space to do that.
And if they put it in the standard Pro, which already has a little bit of a smaller battery, it would probably be sacrificing even more internal space. I'm not happy about it because, again, I like the idea that you get the same phone with the Pro and the Pro Max, just it's bigger and has like a bigger battery. Like, I want that parity.
I know
as much
me,
as
like
possible.
I will not get the Pro Max. I like that camera.
Too big.
I'm not gonna get a phone that
Look,
big.
who's gonna walk
Bring
around?
back the Mini, you cowards!
Who's gonna walk around with 6.7 inches in your pocket all day long? Not me, that's for sure.
Let us know what you like about the iPhone.
Folding is even better. If you could just make it really small and it just goes away.
Like, follow, subscribe.
But then when you need it,
tell Austin how you don't want to hear about his folding thing in his pocket. We'll catch you in the next one.
5 inches is great. It's really good size.